So there's a great debate going on in technology, business at the moment about the impact of technology on economic growth. There's one camp that argues that technology has been the fundamental central motor of economic growth in America for the last 25 years. And without technology, without the internet, the American economy, which is already bad, would be, to put it politely, in even deeper shit. But there are some people, renegades perhaps, who actually are arguing the reverse. They're saying that technology has had a bad impact on the economy and that technology is failing to innovate. Perhaps the best known figure in this movement is Tyler Cowen, a professor of economics at George Mason University and the author of an incredibly controversial book called The Great Stagnation. Tyler, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Hello.
So you've got the audience out there. They're not going to like what you're going to say, but say it, Tyler.
We're not nearly as innovative as we pretend we are. In most areas, we haven't had a lot of technological progress. We're still flying 747s, which were designed in the late 60s. The one area that's been dynamic, which is IT and communications, that's actually made it easier to create jobs somewhere else. And it really hasn't helped the American job market.
Is that, when you say we're still flying 747s, do you mean that the internet is essentially an equivalent of a 747?
The internet is something truly new, but healthcare is a lot more expensive. K through 12 education is getting worse. We don't have cheap energy anymore. And the internet doesn't actually make up for all those retrogressions. We're sort of struggling to stay even in some fundamental sense.
So what you're saying then is that the crisis of the American and perhaps the global economy is a lack of innovation and particularly a lack of technological innovation.
Absolutely. And if you look at social networks, which are new, they're great. I use them myself. Look at Facebook, Twitter. Those companies just haven't created that many jobs. It's not like the old days where General Motors employed 500,000 people.
Well, what about all those social media experts that have been created by Twitter?
That's a fairly small number of people still, and I'm not sure they produce anything.
I'm not sure if they're paid either, right?
That's correct.
What about Facebook? Are you saying that they're not producing a lot of jobs?
Facebook is fun. It satisfies our voyeuristic instinct. You gaze on it, it gives you connections. But no, I don't think it creates a lot of jobs.
I know your argument presents, the 40s and 50s as the iconic period in American economic history where we were really innovating. Give me an example of a technological breakthrough that in your view was profound.
I would go back even further. Look at my grandmother's life. She was born in 1905.
Where was she born?
New Jersey. At that point in history, about 6% of Americans finished high school. Flush toilets and electricity were not to be taken for granted. Cars were hardly existing. And within 50 years, you have that, you have television, you have radio, you have typewriters, all kinds of innovations.
Roads, automobiles.
Absolutely. You look at my first 50 years. There's the internet, which is great, it's fun. And then...
But when you say fun, I'm getting the sense that you're, in a sense, patronizing it. You're suggesting that it's not the equivalent of the invention of the motor car or the road or the flushing toilet.
Absolutely correct, because those things were fun, but they were not only fun.
Well, there's more to the flushing toilet than being fun, right?
Sure. It also created a lot of jobs. It saved a lot of human lives. It gave us clean water. It gave us clean homes.
Tyler, why do you think your argument is so controversial and it pisses so many people off?
People are obsessed with the notion that we Americans are so incredibly innovative. I think that's been...
I'm not an American, so
okay,
speak
but
yourself.
Americans have this myth more, say, than Brits do. And if someone comes along and punctures that bubble, there's a sense of that can't be true. Aren't there so many amazing advances? What about my iPhone? What about my iPad? A lot of that is just manipulating information better or more rapidly. But for the typical person in this country, they already have enough information. It's not that big a gain.
Why, though, do we have so much faith in technology? Might it be fair to say that technology for many people has replaced religion?
It's true, and in most of American history, technology has done us very, very well. Up through the 1970s, technology has driven our job growth, it's driven our prosperity, but it's come to somewhat of an end, at least for a while.
So the real economic miracles in China, in India, in Brazil, are they not predicated on technological innovation? Are they more founded on something else?
They're playing catch-up and copy. I think of today as an age of catch-up. So they're copying what we're doing, but they can do it at lower cost because they have lower wages. And good for them. I don't begrudge them that at all. But if you ask, are they coming up with new products that we use and benefit from? The answer is basically no.
So where do you see the most profound revolutions? Might it be in energy, in medical, in media? Where could there conceivably be the kind of breakthroughs that would truly revitalize the global economy, the American economy, and of course the labor market?
I think there's a clear first choice, and that's artificial intelligence or smart machines. We're already seeing quite a bit. So Watson beats Ken Jennings at Jeopardy. You have Siri on your iPhone. Some of this stuff works now. It needs to get better, but you don't need a fundamental breakthrough. A lot more will come. It's also one area that's almost completely unregulated by government, and that makes it easier to be innovative.
Do I sniff a libertarian here, Tyler?
You sniff a libertarian here. Look at healthcare and education, where we need breakthroughs badly. They're not competitive, they're low accountability, a lot of third-party payment. Those sectors are a mess.
I take your point on the role of artificial intelligence, but what about when it comes to employment? I mean, Siri has overnight made every personal assistant, real personal assistant, a person, human being, either unemployed or imminently unemployed. So how could artificial intelligence revitalize the labor market?
I'm not sure it will. I think it will bring a lot of progress and gains to our lives, but as you say, it will take away a lot of jobs. And the new key question will be, are you smart enough to work with the smart machines? And we don't yet know how many people that will cover, but frankly, I'm a bit worried.
Are you smart enough, Tyler? Well, you're a professor at George Mason.
That doesn't mean I'm smart enough for anything. We'll find out, I suppose.
What do you mean you have to be smart to work with these machines?
Smart machines and AI, they don't just do things by themselves. Of course, they need to be programmed, but people need to work with them to improve them, to apply it. You work with the smart machine. It's a kind of cooperation. But to do that, you have to, in some sense, get some angle or aspect of the machines. So they're not going to destroy all jobs by any means, but they're going to change who's really good at something. So if a computer does your medical diagnosis, you still need someone maybe to double check the computer, but it doesn't have to be a doctor.
A curator.
A curator, someone who gets what computers can and cannot do well, is one way to put it.
What about Google's role in this? Google has been, many people say that Google has missed the social train, that they are yesterday's company, Microsoft 2.0. Could Google reinvent itself around artificial intelligence? Because they seem to be, of all the tech companies, they seem to be the most innovative in this space.
They are, and I think they will play a role in this, but I expect a lot of the big innovations to come from outsiders. If you look at AI in chess, for instance, IBM played a big role, but they were quickly surpassed by outsiders, people working on their own, sometimes in Eastern Europe. So I wouldn't look to the big companies for a lot of the big breakthroughs. They'll play a role, but they won't be the main story.
Have you seen any interesting new startups that our audience should know about in AI that you could talk about publicly?
That's a tricky question. Let me put it this way.
Why is it tricky? Straightforward question, Tyler.
Let me put it this way. I don't think it's a question of startups. I think it's a question of products.
Meaning?
Here's what I think AI can do for us in the relatively near future, if we let it. It could revolutionize K through 12 education. It could revolutionize higher education. It could revolutionize medicine. The question isn't who is the startup, but will we let the products into our lives, given that these areas are overregulated, low accountability, and have a lot of special privilege?
Well, as a libertarian, I'm sure you're licking your lips over the impact of artificial intelligence on government. It could make all bureaucrats unemployed, won't it?
Government will be the last bastion where artificial intelligence, or indeed intelligence of any kind perhaps, will have a big role.
Could you imagine a future, Tyler, where we have economic prosperity and most of us are unemployed?
Not most of us, but I think we'll see more part-time employment. I think we'll see more people struggling to acquire skills and not quite succeeding. I think we'll still see, for a lot of Americans, fairly stagnant wages, but the people who work well with smart machines are going to make large wage gains and really be very wealthy and in very high demand. One sees this already.
Will there be revolutions?
No, absolutely not. We're growing older as a society. Old people are fundamentally conservative. Crime rates are falling. The future will be, in fact, remarkably peaceful.
Well, Tyler Cowen, a professor at George Mason University, the author of The Great Stagnation, interestingly enough, I don't think you see the future as being that stagnated. But I want to thank you so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV, and I look forward to having you back either as Tyler Cowen or perhaps as an artificially intelligent version of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much.